Case here, and today we are doing a everyday carry video. Now, for long-time viewers of the channel, one of the first videos I ever contributed to the D13 channel was a fanny pack everyday carry review back in late 2022, I think. That was supposed to be an annual video series, and both in 2023 and 2024, I have been very much behind. So, however, this is supposed to represent that gap in between that video up to now, and then hopefully at the end of 2025 I will also do one to kind of make it an annual video again. Now, with that said, a couple of caveats. So one, I am calling it the everyday carry video or everyday carry review. The previous one said fanny pack because, as you'll see, we'll talk about more than just a fanny pack. Two, as is with most of our non-airsoft content on the channel, yes, we are primarily airsoft channel. No, we do not exclusively do airsoft. We will also do other things, including stuff like this with actual firearms. Now, with that said, if you are looking at an airsoft channel and only airsoft channel for all of your tactical advice, you should probably reevaluate your life's choices. What we show you is merely a tactical journey of sorts where we learn certain lessons and make certain mistakes and share them with you so that you may not have to make the same ones we do. We are not experts and you should not pretend we are in any way. Okay, now with the disclaimers out of the way, let's kind of rewind back to 2022 in that video where I pretty much break down everything I had inside of this. This is a Bags USA fanny pack. This is probably, no it's not, this is a different one from the one I had in the video. We'll talk about what happened with that. However, what I want to start with is saying first on handgun. So this is an everyday carry, so we're going to talk about my concealed carry, but also some of the non-firearm stuff that I also have in here, particularly medical supplies. Now, my current concealed carry right now is a SIG 365 XL with a manual safety on it. I prefer this over the standard 365 because it's the longer grip, a little longer barrel. It just fits better in my hand, and I do like that. Though the cost is it's a little less concealable than the standard model. Now, what I also have here is the SIG 320, which has been definitely in the news right now. The reason I have this up here is I think I briefly mentioned it in the 2022 video, but before I got the 365 XL, there were times where I was concealed carrying a full-size 320. It was not very comfortable. There were a couple options. I did have a T-Rex Arms appendix holster, so definitely playing with my life there, apparently, according to the internet. I get that. But outside of that holster, I would also fit it in the Bags USA fanny pack, which it could fit a full-size 320. In the time, I would not put it in a holster because I had the manual safety version, so I had enough confidence in it with that to put it in. Maybe I shouldn't have, given certain situations with the 320 kind of talking about right now online. But however, I do want to mention it because I don't think I really fully talked about that in that 2022 video. Now, going past that, I did get the 365 XL. This was the fanny pack I was using both into 2022, 2021, a couple of years up to that point, and then for another about year to year and a half afterwards. I bought probably 3 or 4 of these Bags USA fanny packs. I really like them. As you can see, and we'll talk about some of these other fanny packs in a minute, something to note is how big it is. It is very convenient on size. You have a back zipper here to put flat items. You have your main compartment inside. No bells and whistles there, and then a large horizontal pocket up front. And I was very satisfied with these, and I would probably continue to use this for either handgun at that time, and then eventually just 365 XL, plus all the medical supplies and some of the other stuff I carry in it for as long as I would need. Unfortunately, one of the Achilles heels of this design are the zippers. These are some plastic zippers. I think they're size like 5 or 8 or something like that. They're not a size 10, and they are quite weak. Now, granted, I used the mess out of these. I carried it everywhere, and the zippers were very weak. And a lot of times, zippers would start to break. Either they'd be completely stripped off from the zipper head and no way to reattach it without completely taking apart the fanny pack, or in this case, it got jammed right here, which means only this zipper is good for opening them up about 3/4 of the way. So I said, oh, okay, well, no problem. I had a couple of these. I've used all of them now, about 2 or 3 of them. Let me just go back to Bags USA's website and go purchase some more. And I saw they had a couple different designs, so I said, well, let me get the original. Let me also see what they got. And to my disappointment, I don't know if it was a mistake on their part or not, but I've purchased quite a few of this exact model still, and this is what came. On paper, this is a different material. This is more of a waterproof material, a little silkier, which is fine. I also noticed this is a 1-inch strapping on it instead of a 1.5 inch. And the real Achilles heel is this is all a much smaller size fanny pack. And they do have smaller options on the website, but I double checked. I purchased multiple from different orders, and they kept coming back as this model. And I thought, well, what in the world is that? So, I mean, I could have called customer service. I never did. So that's probably on me. But I was kind of taken back, and I said, well, this was a really successful design minus the zippers. So it's a shame that this new model, I don't mind the material change, but with it being smaller, I did not like that because I could not fit as much as I wanted to in here. So quickly I said, okay, well, what other fanny pack options are out there? I started snooping around, and at a decent price, I got this, which is what I've been using since, which is the Eagle Industry ERB 5GR, which is their escape and resistance belly bag. This is a gray one, so they're one of the least tactical colors, so I can't wear it in everyday carry without people kind of looking at you odd. And this is since what I've been using since probably 2024, well over a year now. And this holds up quite well. This is also a 1-inch waist strap instead of the 1.5 inch on the original Bags USA fanny pack. Personally, I can go either way. I don't mind the weight on strain on just a 1-inch strap. It's really not that heavy to me, so it's not a big deal. As for design, relatively the same. What you have is a zipper on the back, zipper for the main compartment, and zipper for the front compartment. I will say this is kind of the in-between the sizes of these two fanny packs. The original Bags USA is much larger than the other two. This one's much smaller than the other two. The Eagle Industry is somewhere in the middle. Now, another reason why I chose the Eagle Industry was the zippers. Eagle Industry focuses more on the military side than the civilian side, so even if they had this that could be used for everyday carry, the zippers are much more built up. This is a full size 10 zipper, very good quality. They also had the pull tabs already ripped off, and this used paracord, so it's not going to make as much noise, though there was only one zipper on the main compartment. So on the original one, you had one zipper on the front, one zipper on the back, two on the main compartment, so if one gave out, you could still use the other. This one, you only get one, so they're good quality zippers, but if something would have happened to them, you're screwed. That is the bane, as I am learning more in the world of tactical gear. For a lot of pouches use zippers, you are at the mercy of them, for sure. Now, as for what I carry in this is still my primary form of concealed carry and everyday carry, the items inside. As you see over here, we'll get to some more options in a minute. This is mainly what I use. So starting in the back, I'm going to open this up. What I have here are 4 chest seals, 4 of them. Why? I mean, I'm not walking around body armor usually, so if I'm going to get shot, probably want more than just 1 or 2 chest seals. And I can fit them, so, yeah, it's just that. Here is a laminated sheet of paper, some cheat sheet I got for just treatment trauma care, so whether I'm doing it for someone else or doing it for myself, if I need a reminder in a panic, I can read that. This is more of my utility items and some of what I would call more of a boo-boo kit. So for example, I do have some latex gloves in there. They are not sterile. I should probably work on that. They're just in the plastic bag. Spare house and car keys. This falls more under the more the everyday carry, non-tactical stuff, more common sense, right? So if something would have happened, I would have locked myself out of my car, or something happened to my standard house keys, I would have that in a pinch, just to get back into them. And then the various size band-aids, about 5, 6 of them, different sizes. I just have those pinched in there. And that's all I got in that main compartment. Sorry, in the back compartment. Now for the main compartment, when I open it up, I'll get some pictures, but it looks like this. So first off, I have, whoops, I'll get to that. First we have a single tourniquet. Right here is just a basic Sig Sauer holster, Kydex holster for the 365 XL. This is supposed to be inside the waistband holster. Despite having a manual safety, 1, I didn't always have manual safety on it, and 2, even with it, I do, if I have the option and I can fit in there, I do want a holster in there just to make sure nothing gets caught in the trigger guard, something crazy happens rolling around in there. I just want to have it more secure, and I just place it in there, right, and just do tension and everything else in there. It just stays upright in there, so when I open it up, I can pull it out. Now, I'll talk about later, there are some issues with that. Other thing is a decompression needle. I still carry them, but man, I've really been lacking on a lot of my medical training. I probably am not. This pen definitely needs to be replaced. So hey, maybe I'll use this video to kick myself and work on that. But yeah, I definitely need more training with those. Israeli bandage, medical tape. Also started the pull tab on it, so it's easier to immediately start grabbing for it. And that's it in the main compartment. And then the front compartment, outside of my house keys when I'm not using them, I do have some combat gauze, 2 spare magazines because I can fit 2, a small flashlight, and then a very small multi-tool, which is pretty good. So what you'll notice in comparison to the original 22 video is I've really scaled back on the everyday carry. And again, part of that's because I'm a little more limited in capacity in here. But also, a lot of the stuff I just didn't need. Like, oh no, you know, I ran out of battery for this small flashlight. I don't have a AAA battery on me. Well, I would used to carry spare batteries, but I mean, it's your everyday carry. I mean, do you really need, like, how big of a deal is that? Just go back to your car or pull your phone out. You know, it's not as big of a deal to me for everyday carry. So I've scaled stuff like that back. But outside that, I still have the Band-Aids for the Boo Boo kit, and everything else is more of a more conventional IFAK plus the 365 XL holster and 2 mags. Now, something I will talk about, let me get this stuff back in here. Okay, so I got everything back in here, and I'll also show some examples of me wearing it. Now, when I'm getting the handgun out, you only have one zipper, and it closes on the right side. So the zipper is always going to be, if I'm wearing it, it's going to be on my right. I'm a right-handed shooter. So ideally, the best way to draw out of this is to use both hands. That is perhaps easier said than done, given certain self-defense situations, but ideally, I will grab it with my left hand, open it up, and pull it all the way to the end. I will then have this flap reached up, partially be out in my right hand already going for the handgun. Part of me is, now that I've finished with the zipper, using my left hand, reaching in and pulling it out. Now, when I pull this out, ideally, between friction and me grabbing the top of the handgun and pushing away from the holster, I can pull this out without the holster. Because I don't have this Velcro down to any Velcro panel or anything inside. Now, occasionally the holster will come out with it. When that does, you can flick it off pretty fast. However, there is a inconsistency there that, you know, with training you can definitely mitigate, but other setups don't really have that issue. You know, so it's a little awkward. But if you want a package of having everything in here and it doesn't have a Velcro panel already in it, then, you know, there's some things to go with that. Now, I will say it's a little less common when you're actually wearing it because you have that tension of it against your hips, but occasionally I have seen it happen in reps. So, you know, is it the best way to carry? Certainly not. It's certainly not the fastest, but what's great about it is the convenience of having all this together in a basic fanny pack. And that's really one of the biggest draws to the fanny pack system for everyday carry. I see a lot of people do it, but sometimes they'll have fanny packs dedicated, like a whole pouch just to the handgun and maybe some mags, and not the medical supplies. Again, I'm a little limited on real estate here, so I am combining some of the medical supplies and the handgun in the same pouch. In terms of the safety side, because it's in a holster and it's manual safety, I've never had an issue of anything getting caught in the trigger guard or the handgun coming out of the holster inside the pouch, unless I'm actually reaching for it. I've never had anything like that. So yeah, so this is primarily what I use, but it's not exclusively what I use. For example, so the 365 XL is the handgun I use, but I have different ways of carrying it. In addition, if I'm carrying the handgun, I want to also carry medical supplies, and that has been a little more of a challenge. So for most outfits I'm wearing, fanny pack works. If not, it's something I'm doing now is I am wearing suits and a little more business casual these days. And it is a little more difficult to wear certain concealed carry options, both for your weapon and medical supplies. So let's start with this. So this is a Falco shoulder holster for the 365 XL. You got 2 spare magazines here. This is a super nice setup, and I absolutely adored wearing this up in the cold Alaskan environment. Because for most of the year, even with the mild summers, you can get away with a lot of longer sleeve jackets and shirts. And a shoulder holster was super easy to conceal into. I got a couple examples here. So this right here was a pretty popular jacket I would wear, and I would have it unzipped, and I would just have the shoulder holster underneath it, wear whatever t-shirt and pants I wanted, and yeah, I really liked that. So that's one. Something else I would wear is a hoodie. It is a little weirder with a hoodie and a shoulder holster because you can't just immediately draw across your chest to grab to it. You have to lift up the hoodie and then reach for it. But with some practice, it was pretty easy to do. And then what I also would use if I'm doing something a little more formal was just your suit jacket. I will say these were not fitted for a holster, but as long as I don't have it buttoned up, it's fine, which is easier said than done. Because especially down here, when I moved out of Alaska, I'm back here in the south on the coast, and it's very windy around here. So if you are walking around in a suit and you're not buttoning up as you're walking, and you're outside, very quickly breeze is going to catch it, and you're going to show everyone that you're concealed carrying with a shoulder holster. So you actually do need to button up. I am currently in the middle of a weight loss journey, trying to lose some weight, so I've actually kind of waited on tailoring a lot of these suits for the holster because I figured let's see what it looks like when I lose a couple pounds first. But that is something to be aware of because around here it can get pretty windy and it will open up. Now, with actually using the shoulder holster, I highly enjoy it. This version is horizontal carry, so it's easier to just reach in and grab instead of a more vertical side. We have to kind of reach down and grab it. The trade-off to that is everyone behind you, you are flagging. Again, this is good that this model has a manual safety on it. It's kind of a common issue for a lot of shoulder holster designs. I mean, they're overall a very safe system, but you are pointing a loaded gun at someone behind you, so take that into account. It's very convenient to reach over and grab it, and having this 2 spare mags in a convenient package. Something else is once you start using this, it very quickly disappears on you in terms of weight and bulk. You might get, when you first use it, you feel like, I got these bundles underneath my armpits. Not really once you get used to them. Shoulder holsters are very comfortable systems, even for very large handguns. This is not a very large one, but even for larger ones, it can be very comfortable. As you see here, I adjusted this to how I wanted it, and I taped up the straps on it to keep them from getting loose on me. It's a little niche. It's a little harder to use down here in the south because of the heat. I'm not a flannel guy. I don't wear flannels. So it's increasingly becoming more on the waist side for my everyday carry, and thus something like a fanny pack where I can just walk around with that. However, with business casual or a more formal suit, it is a little awkward walking around with a fanny pack, so occasionally I will still use this. Next one I have is for the more business casual, business suits, is a ankle carry. Now this one I had the least amount of experience with because I've only been using it for a couple of months. But I will say, in terms of wearing something like I am wearing now, plus with that jacket, if you're not using a shoulder holster, you have inside and outside the waistband options. But I wanted something that was a little more concealable, so say if I wasn't wearing the jacket, I don't want people to see it. And this is a little too big for a pocket carry. So I looked at some of the options. I said, well, what about the ankle holster? This is a Galco ankle holster specifically for the 365 XL. What's unique about ankle holsters is, for this case, I'm a right-handed shooter. This would actually be wrapped ideally on my left leg and on the inside of my body, and I'll reach in and pull it out. I'll show you some examples. In terms of the construction of this particular ankle holster, it's simple yet very effective. What you also have is a little tab here, so if you want extra support, which would be useful for a handgun like this, because this is not a micro carry handgun, is this little like thigh stabilizer. So you wrap it around here, right? You have the little loop here you attach it to, and then you would have this wrapped around your leg. In terms of providing extra stabilization, yes, it does. I will say, however, the ends of the strap here, where the Velcro is on both halves, is incredibly irritating and cutting into the inner part of my thigh, even when I wear really long socks. I could probably adjust that a little bit. I could probably even trim it a little bit if I had to. But again, this is a pretty early setup. But initially, I was not very satisfied with this extender. But I will keep it for now. As for the holster itself, it's actually quite good. This part is just a standard leather holster for snap. This fits quite well. Now, as for wearing this, I will say first thing first, and this is kind of a new one for me going into the world of ankle carry, is the biggest issue I have isn't the width of the handgun, though that does help. It isn't the length of the barrel, though that does help. The biggest issue is the length between the top of the slide to the bottom of the grip. That is the longest portion I have to deal with, because that is the thinnest part of my ankle, which would be the vertical side of my ankle, having this against it. And having this grip extended out means it's going to be jutting out in my pants, making it, very difficult to pull up my pants, depending on what pant cut I have. And then two, having a clear impression in my pants so you could see, like, hey, that's someone ankle carrying. So again, this is not a micro carry. Ankle carry tends to be more for micro carry. I'm not the tallest guy in the world, so this is a little bit of a challenge, but with certain pants, I can do it. Now, as for carrying spare mags, you could carry them in your pocket. For me, I carry it in this right here. So I have a single handgun magazine right here in this slot. This is a Galco ankle IFAK, and this bleeds into the medical side of it. So what I do here, and I'll show you some pictures, because I use the same medical supplies, so I'll take them out of the fanny pack, put them in here, just save a little bit of money. So what I'll do is I'll put the 4 chest seals here, tourniquet here, combat gauze here. I do have a gauze roll, and then of course the spare handgun magazine. That is notably a lot less medical supplies than I would have in this full-size fanny pack, and that fanny pack has a lot less medical supplies that I would carry on my IFAK on, say, some tactical gear. So there is a trade-off there, having it so concealable in, say, a place like your ankle, but it's certainly better than nothing, and I do definitely appreciate that. Now, in terms of wrapping around your body, you just wrap it around your ankle with this Velcro panel here. And I mean, I'm not really going in a dead sprint with these, especially in business casual. And everything I've used so far, it has been really good in terms of stability and bulk. It's actually easier to conceal this than it is this handgun and this holster setup for the ankle. I'm still fairly new to the ankle carry, so you will probably be seeing changes to this in the next video later in 2025, I suspect, or at least some more comments on it. But yeah, this is all I got. Okay, so again, to review, we talked about fanny packs, we talked about shoulder holsters, we talked about ankle carry, both for handgun and medical items, and I showed you a couple of different ways to carry each of these. Again, I don't claim to be an expert in any of this, I am learning along the way, but I hope you guys learned something from this as well. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. If you have anything you want to say about this, please drop it in the comments below. With that said, that's all I got. See you guys around next time.